Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'm Alan, and I'm talking to you from the Woodstock Food Festival. And just to tell you a bit about myself, I'm 70 years old next year. I've only eaten raw fruit and vegetables for the last 13 years. And I guess our claim to fame is that last year, in 2013, we ran around Australia. So we actually, ran 10,000 miles around Australia. We ran a marathon every day, so a marathon's like 25 miles odd, 26, and we ran a marathon every day for a year and a day. So we ran 366 marathons during the year, and it went really well. The main reason we did it was just to raise some awareness that a couple of old grannies in their 60s and 70s can actually run a marathon fueled entirely on plant-based food.
So I'm Janet, and we ran the marathon together. Just to let you know, we each did a marathon every day, 366 marathons. And I'm 65, and the idea of running around Australia came when we moved there about 6 years ago, and we wanted to bring a really positive message to as many people as we could for as long as we could, and bringing that by example of what's possible when you're living a conscious lifestyle and eating raw, ripe, organic fruits and vegetables. And what possibly started us on a raw vegan diet is about 13 years ago I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was told I had 6 months to live, and I decided that probably wasn't a good idea for me. I wanted to live a lot longer. I was very happy and healthy, I thought, and so I trusted in my body to be able to change that prognosis if I gave it the right tools to do the job it's designed to do, which is to keep us healthy and in a state of optimum health throughout our life. And so I made some choices, some really conscious lifestyle choices that changed everything, including the prognosis. So 13 years later, we were able to run a marathon every single day for 366 consecutive days, as an example of what's possible, not only physically but mentally and emotionally. So running a marathon every single day is for that long is certainly a physical feat, but it's also mental and emotional in ways that is hard to imagine. But we were able to do that because of the food that we're eating, and the food that we're eating is the most nutrient-laden food that you can get. So that was the idea of going 100% raw plant-based diet when I was diagnosed, so that I could get 100% nutrients from the food to help my body heal itself. And so with that experience, we both wanted to share as much of that knowledge and experience that we had through that journey with as many people as we could, so that they could make their own informed choices. And we just became very passionate about wanting to share a really positive message about being conscious about every choice we make in life. And so it's eating a plant-based diet and eating it raw is not only a healthy choice, but it's also a choice that is through kindness and compassion to others. So thinking of the animals, for instance, we don't eat any animal products whatsoever, and clearly that's not necessary for your health or for your physical performance, because I think we've proved that point, but also for the ethical choice of doing no harm to others and other living beings that we should be sharing this planet with, and also taking care of the planet in doing so. And so it's the only home we have, and we feel that it's our responsibility as human beings and humankind to take care of our home, especially for now, but also for future generations, for our children and our grandchildren. So that was the reason that we wanted to run around Australia and run a marathon a day for that long, so that it would really bring people's awareness up to a level of wanting to ask questions and find out why. One of the most common questions for us was, that's not possible, how did you do that? And really, there was certainly some training that was required, but the main thing was being able to be really well nourished and have clarity of mind, to be able to focus and believe in what we're doing and why we're doing it and how important it is for the world to know about it.
We did choose to run this wearing Vibram 5-finger shoes, and interestingly enough we went through 16 pairs each, which may sound like a lot, but that boils down really to 23 marathons for every pair of shoes. So about every 23 days we put on a new pair. We found that we ran injury free. The roads up in the north of Australia, all up around here, are really a chunky sort of a tar seal with big rocks, and often we stood on those rocks, and often at the end of the day our feet were quite tender, but we'd either soak them in icy water perhaps. We learned a trick because it was really hot up there, so each day we alternated 3 different pairs during the day, and we kept 2 pairs in the freezer, and that felt really good on a hot day.
Putting on a pair of frozen shoes is the best.
we had days of 44 degrees, that's like 111 degrees Fahrenheit, and the temperature coming off the road was close to 120. So that was a bit of a problem, because we could protect ourselves from the sun, but we had a lot of radiant heat coming up, and yeah, that was that.
That was, and we had a few other challenges. Mostly it was to do with the weather. The terrain wasn't too bad. We had quite a few hills and some, different changes of altitude, but nothing that was, too much for the training that we'd done. But it was the weather conditions that really posed a problem sometimes. So we had extreme heat. We also went through the bushfire season and had very close to a couple of really serious bushfires that we went through. We also had some really, really cold weather when we got to the west coast, and probably one of those days was probably our worst, where we were getting to a stage of hypothermia running, where our crew couldn't stop for us, so just because they couldn't actually pull the vehicles over, and we had to keep running in horizontal rain, freezing, sleet and really strong headwinds. But luckily we were able to stop eventually before we dropped, and it very quickly recovered. Once we got dry and warm and had something to eat, we were able to go back out there and keep going. So that was another thing that we found was really interesting, that the body could recover really quickly once we got that that high nutrient laden food in there. And and there were a few other times when we were out in the desert and we were on long straight roads for days and days and days. So that was a real head challenge, really keeping your mind focused. And there were a few times when we we'd start going out in the morning, and it was dark every morning that when we started, and we'd kind of wonder if we were going the right way, because that road is straight for days and days, and you're thinking, is this the way we came, or is that the way we're going? So we had to navigate by the stars, and if in Australia the Southern Cross is a constellation of stars that are very, very clear. It's a cross that is in the southern sky. So if it was in the wrong place, it meant we were going the wrong way. So I had to turn around and go back. A couple of times that happened. So funny little incidences like that. We certainly met some incredible creatures out there, so a lot of amazing animals, wild animals, native animals of Australia that are wandering free, and being able to meet them, especially in some of the circumstances, like at night running into a herd of wild horses, or during the day coming across a little dragon in the middle of the road and rescuing him, getting him off the road before the trucks came. Different things like that was really interesting. We went through an area where there were a lot of dingoes, which is the wild dog, a bit like a coyote, and they roam in packs. And in the mornings, when we were in the area where they were a lot of, we would hear them howling to the moon, and it was really a beautiful thing that we were able to hear and witness. We had them running with us sometimes, where they would be running a few yards away from us and just keeping pace in different times. It was pretty special. So we had a lot of really wonderful experiences like that you would never have otherwise if you were just in your normal way of life, going to work and things like that. So they were really special. But we met a lot of wonderful people as well on the road, and everybody was really supportive and really loved what we were doing for the message that we were sharing. We certainly had a lot of people stop and say, "You're absolutely crazy. You shouldn't be doing this." But by the time they finished talking with us, they were saying, "Well, just keep going, because it's such an important message." And I think they were thinking it was better you than me, but but they're really behind us and supporting us. So and it was more the fact that they were supporting why we were doing it, rather than for us to be out there running every day. So it was great.
We ran injury-free, like I was saying before. We didn't really ever get a typical injury from running. But both of us fell very heavily a couple of times. And one day there, Jeanette fell really heavily. She took a big chunk out of her shoulder, her elbow and her knee. Didn't look very good. But worse than that was she actually cracked a rib. And I said at the time, "Come on, I'll just get you off the road and we'll see what we can do." And she said, "No, don't touch me, I'm too sore." So I said, "Well, we've got to do something, because there's a large truck coming and you've got to get off the road." So we did. And for about half an hour she sat there sort of nursing her wounds. And then we started running, or walking at first and then running. And finally we got into a very slow run. And finally we got to the caravan and dressed up some of the wounds and put a big bandage around her ribs, and we were able to carry on that day. And that happened to myself as well. And sometimes with cracked ribs, the second day can be worse than the first day when you wake up in the morning. Sneezing or coughing is no fun.
Or laughing.
Yeah. So we did have some injuries.
But we don't take any painkillers or any kind of drugs or stimulants or anything like that at all, because we really want to know what the body's doing and then what the messages are that it's giving us. And if we're in pain, that's a good thing, because we know that we're in pain and where that pain is and where it's coming from, and how to maybe back off a little bit if we well, in our case we were committed to keep going. So at least we were able to do it at a rate that wasn't going to injure us further. And eventually, over a few days, the healing process started, and pretty soon we were almost back to normal.
And an interesting thing was that I think the first 10 marathons were probably the hardest, even though we had trained for a whole year beforehand. It's very hard to train for an event like that. So the first 10 days were hard, but interestingly enough, the last 100 days were our easiest marathons.
Yeah.
So as we were running, we were still getting fitter. We lost a small amount of weight, but even that, in the last 100 days, we started putting weight back on again. So, in fact, we felt, a couple of days before we finished, I thought, hey, we could do this again. And then I took a good look at myself and decided that's not what we should do. But
so we do have a lot of people ask us, so are you going to do it again? And we're going, well, we've been there, done that. We'll think of something else. And another question is often, well, are you still running and are you still eating raw vegan food? And our answer is, why would you stop doing something that works? Absolutely, we're still running every day. We're still eating raw vegan food, and we're still getting healthier every day. So it doesn't stop. It's unlimited, the potential that the human body has to offer to us. And so we're just excited to see what's going to happen next.
well, you know, here at the Woodstock Food Festival, there's a beautiful lake right on our doorstep. And we've been here for 14 days and we've run around that lake 14 times. We start 6:30 every morning, and usually we pick up some runners that are keen to come with us. And in fact, this morning we did it twice. We did 2 loops.
That's about 6 miles.
Yeah, it's a 6-mile
around.
loop, that's right.
So it's a nice hour's run in the morning, seeing the sun come up. I mean, it doesn't get a lot better than that.
And I think if you do the maths, I think just in the last 2 weeks we've done about 75 miles just around the lake.
So since we finished the run, we've had a lot of media coverage and a lot of people interested in having us come and speak. So we've kind of been on the road or in the air doing a lot of events, and that's wonderful because we still want to help share that information with as many people as possible. But we were approached a few months ago by a filmmaking company, or a filmmaker whose company wants to make a movie, and they want to really make a cinematic standard movie that's based on the run, but is bringing that message that, you know, the idea is to bring that message forward in a really positive, beautiful way. And so we kind of have to go out there and do a bit of a rerun to do some cinematic shots, but using a lot of the raw footage that we took on the run as well. And with interviewing various different other people that have made changes in their lives, that have made a huge difference to their health and their well-being. And so that's hopefully going to come out in time for the Cannes Film Festival in France. That's the idea, so that it will really go into cinemas and be, you know, able to bring the message to everyone. And so at the moment we're crowdfunding for that. You can find us on our website. You can find a link through to the film crowdfunding as well. And the website is really easy to remember, so you just need to remember what we did. runningrawaroundaustralia.com. So runningrawaroundaustralia.com. And that has links through to our Facebook page, and keep in touch because, you know, we still would love to make contact with as many people as we can and bring this really good message through to everyone. And I've written 2 books. One was based on my journey with cancer and journey into a more conscious raw vegan lifestyle, and that's called Raw Can Cure Cancer. And then the other book I've just finished, it's called Running Out of Time, and that's based on the run. And it has an account of every day, as well as a few other little stories of incidences that happened, and some recipes in there too. So you'll be able to find those on our website, So at the moment we have all the copies with us here at the Woodstock Food Festival, but we will have them available online by the time we get back, which is around October. So keep in touch, and we'd love to contact anybody and everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Actually ran 10,000 miles around Australia. We ran a marathon every day, so a marathon's like 25 miles odd, 26, and we ran a marathon every day for a year and a day, so we ran 366 marathons during the year, and it went really well. The main reason we did it was just to raise some awareness that a couple of old grannies in their 60s and 70s can actually run a marathon fueled entirely on plant-based food.
So I'm Janet, and we ran the marathon together. Just to let you know, we each did a marathon every day, 366 marathons. And I'm 65, and the idea of running around Australia came when we moved there about 6 years ago, and we wanted to bring a really positive message to as many people as we could for as long as we do. Live a lot longer. I was, very happy and healthy, I thought, and so I trusted in my body to be able to change that prognosis if I gave it the right tools to do the job it's designed to do, which is to keep us healthy and in a state of optimum health throughout our life. And so I made some choices, some really conscious lifestyle choices that changed everything, including
Yeah. Okay, I'm Alan, and I'm talking to you from the Woodstock Food Festival. And just to tell you a bit about myself, I'm 70 years old next year. I've only eaten raw fruit and vegetables for the last 13 years. And I guess our claim to fame is that last year, in 2013, we ran around Australia. So we actually,
could, and bringing that by example of what's possible when you're living a conscious lifestyle and eating raw, ripe, organic fruits and vegetables. And what possibly started us on a raw vegan diet is about 13 years ago I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was told I had 6 months to live, and I decided that probably wasn't a good idea for me. I wanted